She is a qualified and licensed clinical social worker, the president of the Miles and Ruth Munroe Foundation, and co-creator of Munroe Emerging Leaders, speaking on the topic, Success as a Balancing Act. Please welcome to the stage, Charisa Munroe.
So it's always good to be the last speaker because you would have heard everyone speak and you'd say, okay, I can take from that and take from that. But no, actually what I've discovered is we are all building on each other's. And there's a little bit that each speaker said that I'm going to talk to you about. And it's pretty much going to be a conclusion because when you talk about the definitions of success to the ups and downs that Ms. Font has been through the pressures and challenges, and the yes and no's that Chaz has been through, there's all of that takes a balance. And so I'm going to talk to you from a balance standpoint. And they told me there's a delay. But, you know, the first thing we want to do is define success. And Charles did a very good job at giving us multiple definitions on what success is. But that's relative. It really does vary from person to person. And so what success is for you won't be success for me. And what success is for somebody else won't be success for the other person. You may measure yours based on money. Someone else may measure theirs based on fame. Some may measure theirs based on happiness. So I leave the definition of success up to you. But I'm not concerned about success at this point. I'm concerned about where we're at in balancing the different areas of life. And success is a part of life. And so I would like for you to follow me. But, you know, in life we have these different areas. There I am looking cute. One of the quotes by Mark Anthony, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And that's the point that we should all be trying to get to, where we don't work a day in our lives. We just do what we love to do. We're no longer working for anyone else. We're just being us and doing us. So like I said, I'm going to leave you to define what success is for you and how you measure your level of success. So in life, we have these different areas. There's the physical, there's the mental, the spiritual, the material, the pleasurable, the social, the emotional. All of these are different areas of life. Physical is your body. Chaz just talk about fit, how we take care of our bodies from a health standpoint, from a fit standpoint. Spiritual, whatever that means to you. Material, the things that you attain, house, cars. Pleasurable, what are your pleasures? You know, could be money. Professional, where you work, where you are in your career, whether you're at the top of the chain or at the bottom, whatever that means as far as success for you. Emotional, where you are mentally, what's your stability as far as an emotional person? Are you very emotional? Are you depressed? Are you happy? Social, do you have good relationships? How do you manage your family? How are things? Are you from a dysfunctional home, a functional home? All of these are the different areas of life that, whether you believe it or not, you have been balancing from birth. And so how are we successfully balancing all of those areas of life? So, you know, my topic is success as a balancing act, but I think I had to flip it and say, how do we successfully balance? And so I'm going to step out of this circle for a moment, because from birth, and I'm going to pretend as though this is the top of a tightrope, the beginning, and that wall is the end. We started from the beginning balancing different areas of life. Balance is a natural phenomenon. It's innate. And at some point, we've just, through experience, we just got better at it. In order to move from an infant and a baby, where we had to learn to crawl, from crawling to creeping to walking, we had to learn to balance. And then eventually we succeeded. Then as a child, we had to learn how to ride a bike from training wheels to a bicycle, and eventually we succeeded. Then as an adolescent, we had to learn how we were going to deal with these different kinds and different effects of puberty without embarrassing ourselves. And eventually we succeeded, for the most part. And then as youth and college students, we had to figure out how we were going to balance the thoughts in our minds that in the next 4 to 5 years, we're about to be adults and life is really going to happen. Then here we are now, so we have just met the middle of the tightrope. And here we are now as adults currently. And all of a sudden, all those balancing experiences that we've had all now make sense. And now we really have to put whatever strategies we've learned to figuring out now, how am I going to really balance all of these things that I no longer have someone there to crop me up. Now it's just me. And so, however, the fact that we made it here means that we have succeeded from point A to right now, point A and a half, right this very second. So why should we stop now? And so, we've been, so really and truly, we have this balancing act down to a science by this point. So now we just need to figure out how we're going to successfully do that. We've already failed, because even when you were a child, you had to fall a couple of times. You probably broke a tooth. You probably got bled out of your nose. You started crying. Before you started walking and running successfully. And children do not walk. They do. For some reason, they want to go from crawling to running. Every child does it. And so, but all of that took a balancing act. We failed as children. We failed when we were trying to ride a bicycle. We failed when we were going through puberty with all of these females, what we go through, the emotions. Now we are women. Mom and dad have that talk. This is what this red dot means. Men, they go through their changes. And so we had to learn to balance that. Sometimes we failed, sometimes we succeeded. So we really and truly know what that balancing means. So sometimes we just need a reminder. And sometimes we have learned to balance until we get to a happy medium. So, as we're walking this tightrope, there are times when our road have been fine. There are times when we have kind of fell off and had to figure out how we're going to get back on. Or we have kind of had to, tilt over a little bit when we're supposed to actually be straight. So when you look at what a happy medium is, to me, that's your center or your true north. And that is what keeps you abreast, and everything else around that is going to evolve and develop around your center. So sometimes we just need to make sure that we have a center developed, we have established a center for ourselves. So we always have that to come back to. We always have that to fall back on. The other word for center can be foundation. As long as your foundation is strong, whatever that is for you, because for some people that may be different. Whether that's a foundation that you've had that's always been there from birth, or whether it's one that you've created over time. There has to be a foundation, there has to be a center, there has to be another physics word is fulcrum for you to actually center on and balance on. And so once we have that, then no matter even if we get off kilter, or no matter if we fall off, or no matter if someone pushes off, because you're going to have those things and those persons in life that is going to try and push you. But no matter what, you always have that center to come back to. So I want to go over 4 keys that are important for maintaining a successful balance or a successful center. First key is remain steady and remain calm. Easier said than done, I know. But sometimes, like kids, they do not like to walk. They want to go from crawling to running. They make a couple of steps running, they fall. You tell them, what's the first thing you tell them? Slow down. Sometimes that's what we need to do. Sometimes we need to slow down. Notice I did not say slow down. So sometimes, and the tightrope is going to be a tightrope. That's all you got is something as thin as this. And you think you got it. Oh, I got this. I'm successful in this, so now I can go running. But no, sometimes you got to slow down. And then you have to slow down, and Charles did a very good word right here, and just be patient. Sometimes you have to wait for everything else now to maintain that equilibrium again. And then sometimes you just got to be calm. We tend to get agitated, we tend to get frustrated, we tend to get depressed, but we have to realize that, okay, I can still do this, I can still get back on, I can still find my center, I just need to, let's go back to the basics. Let's go back to whatever strategies I would have said before I even started this road, this journey. And so you want to remain steady and you want to remain calm. Second key is maintain stability. And to maintain, the best way to maintain stability is to stay focused. So you're going to have your eye and your vision on something. There's a vision that you have that's going to keep you focused. It'll be when you look left or when you look right or when you are distracted that's going to take you off kilter and make you unstable. That'll be when you tip over or when you fall. So you want to try and maintain stability. You want to even be disciplined. Sometimes you have to avoid the external noise. You have to avoid external factors, whatever that is for you. That can be someone, that can be something, whether you need to get rid of friends, whether you just need to go in your quiet room, whether you just need to be focused and not worry about anyone else or anything else. Just try to avoid whatever it's going to take for you to be as stable and as focused and as disciplined as possible. And you want to be persistent on that. The next one, and I stress it, assess, assess, assess. So by the time we get from one level of life and one metamorphosis of life to the other, we now have to assess. And then sometimes you realize that no matter what step you take, you can't retain your balance. You would take one step and you're still leaning, or you take one step and you're still falling. So then now you need to slow down and then assess. Okay, so what's going on? Why? Sometimes you have to rethink. Sometimes you have to reevaluate. Sometimes your goals need to have a different timeline on them. Sometimes you just need to say, okay, so maybe I'm using the wrong strategy here. What do I do? But whatever it takes for you to maintain, because sometimes you have to regain that center in order for you to say, okay, I have balance. Now I can make the next step. Sometimes we want to make one step from one to the other, and we still haven't maintained balance in between. And so people ask me all the time, you know, Charisa, how do you balance all of what you do? Especially since my parents have passed and we've had so much that's been put on our plate, and we have accepted so much of the baton, and now we're also doing so much for ourselves. How do you do it all with work? I still work a professional job, 9 to 5, and then I still do a lot of other work and stuff that I'm trying to do for myself on the side. How do you do it all with traveling and with spending time with family and friends, and are you in a relationship, and how do you do it all? And sometimes sometimes you don't know. And the don't know is because it's so natural for us to just automatically do. You know you have to do all these things. So you automatically balance them. Sometimes you just need to look at it and say, am I giving the right weight to the right thing? So maybe I may be giving too much weight to going out or socializing. So I'm not giving enough weight to progressing and sitting down and strategizing on my next brand or my next song or my next book. I'm sorry, I'm looking at a friend of mine because I'm trying to write a book and I'm stuck. I'm literally stuck because the book is going to take me places that I don't want to go. It's not a very good feeling just because of what I've been through. So I'm doing all kind of things to not do this book. But I know that eventually I'm going to have to take some weight off of this and put some weight off of here to recenter myself to get that book done. Because it's important. It's important to me and it's important to the world. So, and the fourth key is don't stop. No matter what happens, no matter what doesn't happen, no matter what you do not stop. You want to keep persevering. You want to be persistent. You want to keep going. Now, you may, even at this point, you may still have to slow down. And you may still have to just wait until everything now balances itself again. But you do not want to stop. Even when you fall, get back up, even if you have to start from the beginning or you have to start back from that spot. But you don't want to stop. Don't be discouraged. And I love Chad. I'm going to use him as an example. He was told no multiple times. What if he had stopped at the very last time they told him no? He would have never gotten that yes. And we would have never gotten sold on everything. But because he just said, okay, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep going. And he kept going and he got his yes. So even I tell myself, okay, one day I'm going to get up and I'm going to write chapter 2 of my book. And I'm not going to stop. I'm going to get there eventually, but I'm not going to stop. That goal is still a goal of mine. So based on all of what we talked about, when you look at these 4 pictures, what is one thing that you see that's common? Okay, that's easy. I need something more specific. What's the one thing you see that's common? Say it again. There's a foundation. Okay, give me another word. There's a foundation. There's a center. And if you notice, some of the centers are at the bottom and some are at the top. It doesn't matter where your center is. Whether it's a center at the bottom, which indicates a foundation, or whether it's a center at the top and you're building from there, it doesn't matter. Nonetheless, there's a center. And also, the elephant one is so important because sometimes we look at the size of us thinking that we are not going to make this because that road is too small or that is too narrow. But look at that elephant. No matter how heavy he is, 2 things he has recognized. That one, no matter how heavy I am, that where they can hold me or not, I'm going to do it. But the only way that you know if any road or any avenue is going to hold your weight, you got to take that first step. You will never know. If he had looked at that and said, I am definitely too big, he would have never known. And he is huge, and that thing is 10 times his size, half his size. However, he made that first step. And so sometimes we just need to do that. Look at the guy. And so he has, to me, he has 2 standards. The rock is the foundation, and then he's also using a part of himself. You will be surprised that a lot of your answers are already with you. And I'm going to have to bring God into this because everything that God gave, that God has for you, he's given to you. He's already given you the potential, so he knows that you can do what your assignment is. Sometimes we just have to trust ourselves instead of trusting somebody else. Because there'll be the one person that you trust that's not strong enough to hold you. Something happens, and they're gone. Imagine if that hand was somebody else trying to hold him up, and something happened. They go, he falls. He's either injured, dead. So we need to trust ourselves. So yes, we said they all have a center and a foundation. You all are smart. Awesome. So in conclusion, can you move my slide for me? So I wanted to come back to this slide. And so now what I've added to this slide is successfully. So now we can balance, once we have balanced all of these areas of life successfully, then success is automatic. And the balance, the measures of these are going to vary from person to person. So please don't measure your balance and success to someone else. People say it all the time. Because what's your weight on social life? I can't put that same weight on social life. Because you may already be at a certain point in your life, and I'm trying to get there. But I'm trying to have the same level of social that you have. I'm never going to get there. So make sure you know your own measures of success and your own measures of balance. And then we will successfully live. And Winston Churchill made a very good statement. He said, we make a living by what we get. We make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give. And Charles stole my thing here. In order for us to give back, we have to be balanced. In order for us to give back of our lives, we have to figure out what that balance is. Because we can't be unbalanced and off-kilter, still trying to give. Still trying to give of us if we are not centered. So in conclusion, once you are successful at your balancing act, you are successful at life. Success is not a one-day accomplishment, but it's a journey. So like I said, by the time you have reached adults, you've only made it halfway through your journey from point A to point B on your tightrope. From this point, you still have another rest of your life in this journey to be successful and have multiple successes. We're not saying that you're not going to be successful until you get to point B. No. But once you have become successful in one thing, that success is done. It's time for you now to move on to the next step. Balance is going to come natural to you once you establish your center. and establish your foundation. And so again, I say to you, determine what success means to you and just naturally balance it. Thank you.